The door swung open for less than 2 seconds, but that was all it took to stop USMC Commander Adrian Cole cold. What he saw wasn't what made his blood run cold, it was the scar. A jagged, unmistakable scar running across the nurse's shoulder blade, burned into his memory from a battlefield he had spent 12 years trying to forget. His face drained of color. His breathing turned shallow. Because that scar belonged to someone who should have been dead. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more hearts around the world. Commander Adrian Cole had built a reputation inside the United States Marine Corps as a man who never hesitated. He had led rescue missions under enemy fire, survived impossible odds, and earned medals that most soldiers only dreamed of. People feared his discipline and respected his strength. But behind his medals and rank lived a man carrying invisible wounds no doctor could stitch closed. Every night, memories returned like ghosts. Dust storms. Gunfire. Smoke. Screams. And one memory above all others haunted him, the medic who saved his life and disappeared into chaos. After years of service, Adrian had been ordered to undergo rehabilitation following a severe knee injury. He hated hospitals. To him, hospitals smelled like helplessness. They forced warriors to sit still and face pain without weapons, without control. That morning was no different. Irritated and restless, he arrived early for physical therapy at St. Mercy Medical Center. The halls were quiet, sunlight pouring through large windows, warming the polished floors. Nurses moved calmly from room to room, carrying charts and medicine with practiced grace. That was when it happened. Adrian turned a corner too quickly and accidentally pushed open a staff changing room. He immediately looked away, muttering an apology, but not before seeing the woman inside changing into scrubs. Yet embarrassment vanished the second his eyes caught the scar on her shoulder. His body froze. His mind raced backward through time. He knew that scar. Impossible. The nurse stepped out minutes later, now fully dressed in pale blue scrubs, her dark hair tied neatly back. Her badge read Marina Vale. She moved with quiet confidence, carrying herself with a calm strength that made Adrian stare. She noticed him watching but simply gave a polite nod and continued walking. Adrian's heart pounded. 12 years earlier, in a desert combat zone, Adrian's convoy had been ambushed. The explosion had flipped his vehicle and pinned him beneath twisted metal. Fire spread rapidly. His radio failed. His squad was scattered. He remembered the heat burning his skin and the terrifying certainty that he was about to die. Then someone appeared through smoke, a combat medic. Small frame. Fast hands. Steady eyes. She ignored incoming fire, dragged metal away, and injected pain relief into his arm. He remembered one detail more clearly than anything else. As she lifted debris, her sleeve tore, revealing a jagged scar across her shoulder blade. She pulled him out moments before the vehicle exploded. He had blacked out after that. When he woke in a military hospital days later, no one could identify the medic. Reports were incomplete. Some said she died. Others said she had been reassigned. Eventually, records vanished into military bureaucracy. And now, here she was. Or was she? Over the next several days, Adrian watched Marina carefully. She treated every patient with patience and dignity. She spoke softly to frightened children, reassured anxious families, and stayed late without complaint. But something felt strange. Marina avoided attention. She never discussed her past. She smiled politely, yet sadness lingered in her eyes like a shadow. Adrian wrestled with doubt. What if he was wrong? What if trauma had distorted his memory? Finally, after another therapy session, he approached her. He asked a simple question about military service. Marina paused for a fraction of a second before calmly saying she had never served. Adrian felt confusion crash into him. She was lying. Not because he wanted her to be his savior, but because he saw something in her eyes. Recognition. Fear. Pain. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. His instincts screamed that Marina was hiding something much deeper than military service. The next morning, he arrived earlier than usual and found Marina sitting alone in the hospital garden before sunrise. Without the hospital noise around them, she looked different. More fragile. More human. He sat nearby and quietly told her about the medic who saved him. For a long time, she said nothing. Then tears filled her eyes. Years of silence broke all at once. Marina finally revealed the truth. Her real name had once been Naomi Mercer. She had served as a combat medic under classified operations attached to Marine rescue units. During that ambush, she had saved Adrian and several others. But during the extraction, another explosion severely injured her. She survived, but barely. After returning home, she faced something worse than physical wounds. She battled trauma, survivor's guilt, and crushing depression. The military discharged her quietly. Recognition never came. Therapy failed. Friends disappeared. Family didn't understand. She felt erased. So Naomi disappeared. She changed her name to Marina. She became a civilian nurse. She started over. Adrian sat frozen, overwhelmed by guilt and gratitude. The woman who saved his life had spent years suffering in silence while he moved forward with medals and honor. Marina confessed something that shattered him even more. She had recognized him on his first day. But she stayed silent because she feared what reopening the past would do. She had spent years trying to bury those memories. Adrian finally understood something painful: heroes were not always celebrated. Sometimes heroes disappeared quietly into ordinary lives, carrying extraordinary pain alone. Over the next weeks, everything changed. Adrian stopped behaving like a hardened commander and began showing up not as a soldier, but as a friend. He brought coffee. He listened. He stayed present. Slowly, Marina allowed herself to trust again. The walls around her heart began to crack. For the first time in years, she laughed. Really laughed. She began speaking in therapy sessions again. She stopped hiding her scars under long sleeves. The scar that once symbolized pain slowly became a symbol of survival. Adrian changed too. He realized strength was not about suppressing pain. Real strength meant facing it. Admitting hurt. Accepting help. Months later, St. Mercy held a ceremony honoring healthcare workers. Marina expected nothing. She stood quietly among other nurses. Then Adrian walked onto the stage in full dress uniform. The room fell silent. In front of doctors, nurses, patients, and staff, he told the story of a nameless combat medic who ran into fire to save lives. He spoke about courage without recognition and sacrifice without applause. Tears spread across the audience before he even finished. Then he called Marina forward. She trembled as she stepped onto the stage. Adrian saluted her. A perfect military salute. The room erupted in applause. Marina broke down in tears. For 12 years, she had carried the burden of feeling forgotten. In that moment, she wasn't forgotten. She was seen. She was honored. She mattered. If this story is touching your heart, please comment "Heroes Still Walk Among Us" below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. A year later, Marina launched a support program for veterans and trauma survivors, helping those who felt invisible find healing again. Adrian became one of its strongest supporters. Together, they reminded people that healing doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when someone chooses to stay. And maybe that is the deepest truth of all. Sometimes, the people carrying the heaviest scars smile the softest. Sometimes, the strongest heroes wear scrubs instead of uniforms. And sometimes, a scar doesn't mark where someone was broken. It marks where they survived. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Heartline Stories for more emotional journeys that remind us of humanity's strength. In the end, Adrian learned something the battlefield never taught him: not every rescue happens in war. Sometimes, the greatest rescue happens when one wounded soul helps another remember they are not alone.